Okay, hey YouTube. Welcome to Traffic School NYC, a new YouTube channel. I'm so excited to be here and bring you this content from my sitting room, not a courtroom. But I'm glad to be able to bring you this content, because it's novel, meaning that it's new, it's never been done before, and certainly never been done by a judge. And it took some time for me to actually develop this course. Traffic School NYC is actually a course, and it's designed to teach New York City vehicle operators, whether you are a passenger vehicle or you drive a commercial vehicle or if you drive a taxi, what the parking rules are in particular in New York City. So this course came about because I'm a native New Yorker. I lived in, I grew up in Queens, New York, and as a driver, I got tickets like everyone else. And I didn't know the parking rules like everyone else. And I would just get a ticket and I would pay it. I didn't know how to challenge a ticket. And it wasn't until I became a judge that I actually began to know and understand the parking rules in New York City. And it wasn't until I started hearing cases that I realized that the same lack of knowledge that I suffered from and paid dearly for in violations was the same lack of knowledge that respondents, meaning the people who came before me, also suffered from. And if you're not from New York, in New York, parking is at a premium. The parking situation is abysmal. And it makes it very difficult and very expensive to maintain a vehicle in New York City. So I really, again, I wanted to create this course. I wanted to level the playing field. I really did. As I sat and I would hear people come before me over and over and over again, not often the same people, that was rare, but definitely the same issues and the same lack of understanding, lack of knowledge. People would come in, they'd be angry, they'd leave. If they, if I had to find them guilty, myself or another judge, you can hear people screaming and threatening bloody murder. Somebody said they wish I got hit by a bus. And I'm laughing out. I chuckled then, but I understood they were upset because they're like, what's going on? I don't understand. And I need you to know that judges are not in a position to teach the rules. Our job is just to hear the facts, look at the evidence, and make a decision based on the law. So that's why I thought it was important for me to teach this material from a judge's perspective. A little background about me. I'm a teacher. I started out as a teacher in New York City. I left education and went to law school. I became a Brooklyn prosecutor. I was an ADA for 3 years. I went back into education as a school principal. Then I decided to marry education and law together, and I started to work on education policy in Washington, D.C., and then abroad. I came back to New York, continued my legal practice, but with a focus on education, and then became a judge. So when I come to you bringing those two areas together, the education and the law, and I truly want you to learn and understand. I know that it'll make a huge difference, for so many people who are suffering under the burden of, trying to park in New York City, not understanding the rules, and constantly incurring all these fines over and over and over again. Because in New York City, it's not enough to know how to drive. You must know how to park. And if you don't know, you will pay dearly for that. All of New York City is a tollway zone. It's important that you know. Most people don't know. You can get towed in New York City on a single ticket. It could be an expired meter. You ran out of time and your car is sitting there, they can tow you. So it's so important to know that these things are very critical, and your understanding of it is important. I think it's important. And I want to make sure that people really get an opportunity to get this information, and we level the playing field and make it fair. If we're gonna hold you accountable for the rules, you need to be able to access the rules. So I want to jump into a PowerPoint presentation. I'm gonna go through quickly. I want to invite you to look at this video as many times as you need and take notes so that you'll have an understanding. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm looking at my timer. Let's go to share. And yes, I have a million icons on my desktop. So this is a mini lesson going back. Those who are in education know what that is. It's just a short snippet of the overall lesson. And that's found actually in the course, Traffic School NYC. And this is how to identify a defective summons. And this is geared toward drivers of passenger vehicles, whether you're a commercial vehicle driver, whether you're a taxi driver. People who are first-time drivers often get many summonses. I've had many parents come before me with hundreds and yes, even thousands of dollars in summonses because the fines would accrue because the child didn't know the rules. They were a licensed driver, but they didn't know the parking rules or the red light rules or the school speed zone rules. And they would incur these tickets one after another, and then frequently hide the notices when they came to the home. And so now the parents standing before me with not just the violation fines, but also the penalties. If you're visiting from out of state, you're coming into New York City, this is holiday time, people are going to be parking, it's going to be a madhouse. And yes, traffic agents are going to be out there issuing tickets. That's their job, to make sure that the laws are abided, that we abide by the laws, but you need to know what they are. So this would be ideal, a gift to someone else or for yourself. So first things first, I want to let you know that, again, I'm sharing this information from a judge's perspective. It's a bird's eye view. It demystifies the process. We look at and we weigh the evidence in an impartial way. We are not awarded for the number of summonses we uphold, okay? Meaning the number of times that we find respondents guilty, nor are we rewarded for the number of summonses we dismiss. So it's so important that you understand the first thing that we're looking at is whether or not a violation is even valid in the first place. That's the way that we're trained, and that's what we do. And it makes sense. Is the ticket legally sufficient? Is it valid? If it's not, there's no need to even go any further. And if we find that it's invalid, we dismiss it on its face, and that's it. I've had respondents come before me and not have to say anything after they've been sworn in, other than they swear to tell the truth. That's it. So also I noticed that a lot of people make the mistake because, for them, it's out of an abundance of caution, but it costs them an abundance of money, because when they get a ticket, the first thing they do is just write a check or put it on their credit card and pay it. That's not what you do. The first thing you do when you get a ticket is you're going to look at it to determine whether or not it's valid, okay? And that's what the objective of this mini lesson is, to know the elements of a summons, what makes a summons valid, and how to request a dismissal. Elements of a summons includes the occurrence, the actual date, time, and place the violation occurred, the plate designation, that's your plate number, ABC123, plate type, whether it's a passenger vehicle, a commercial vehicle, plate, the registration expiration, month and year, the make or model of the vehicle, the body type, was it an SUV, or was it a sedan, or was it a van? The rule, which is the violation code that has to appear on the summons. It also must include the violation written out in plain language so that the reader understands, okay? It has to be clear so that you understand. And the days and hours when that restriction is in effect. So if you're in, let's say for instance, a no parking zone, the summons has to clearly state what days no parking is in effect, or what days are you not allowed to park. The days and the time, and it must be correct. So a summons will also include the amount of the fine, the county, the precinct, the vehicle owner's name. If you're there, the issuing agent will hand you the summons. They should attempt service on you. If you give your name, it'll appear at the top of the summons. The signature where there's a check, meaning that's required, the signature is the signature of the issuing agent, the traffic agent who's giving out the ticket. The plate type, again, whether it's a passenger or commercial or taxi plated vehicle, can be left out. The expiration of the registration can be left out. If it's noted on the summons, it's left out because it's not shown. It cannot just be left blank. So this is a photo of a summons that I just took offline. And you notice at the very top here, well, not at the very top, but the second section here, it says owner of the vehicle bearing license. So that would be where the name of the person would go if the traffic agent actually gave them the ticket, asked them their name and put it in. So anything that's omitted, meaning missing, misdescribed, yes, that's a word, meaning that the information is incorrect or illegible, gets thrown out. I want to say to you, it's so important that you allow the judge to guide you through the process. Okay, because when the judge guides you through the process, sometimes they know something you don't know. So I've had respondents come before me with a ticket, and I looked at it and I said, this is illegible. I can't read the address. So I say aloud on the record so that the recording picks me up. I find the summons is warranting dismissal in that the address is illegible. I cannot read the first digit. And then the respondent goes, oh, that's a 2. Well, it wasn't illegible to you? Okay, so then it doesn't get dismissed. Important that you pay attention. This is the cheat code. This is just the acronym for the parts of the summons that must be clear, written clearly, legibly, right? Has to be properly described and must not have any errors. It has to appear. So you can request that a summons be dismissed on the website, in person. And again, hearing etiquette is so important. Keep in mind, the judge is impartial. They're not on anyone's side. and I think that the fact that the first thing we do is look to dismiss the summons makes that very clear. So, don't go in yelling and screaming and being angry. I talk a lot about hearing etiquette in the course, as well as evidence, because it's a couple of places where, people really struggle. So, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much for listening. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. What other material you'd like me to cover. Please join the mailing list. Leave your email below. Register and receive our early bird discount for Traffic School NYC. You will not regret it, and it will save you a boatload of money. Thank you.